The difference between merely getting by and making a large fortune in your business is largely dependent upon your awareness of a few key strategies and actions that your competitors can't recognize or act on. Jay Abraham's Mastermind Marketing System shows you how to take maximum advantage of hidden opportunities, assets, and advantages you possess now. The advantages that all super successful people capitalize on as a matter of principle. He'll show you exactly, with step-by-step action plans, how to capitalize on those strategies that your competitors can't see. You'll discover a kaleidoscopic array of possibilities you can implement immediately to exponentially increase your success, income, and opportunity base. Jay Abraham uses time-tested strategies in a unique, layered approach that will free you from business worries as they ironclad your future success. Countless business owners have gotten their businesses off the ground and into the stratosphere by following Jay Abraham's advice. Multitudes have doubled, tripled, and even quadrupled their sales or income with simple implementation of a few of the techniques contained in this program. The secret they know is this: 98 out of 100 people use tunnel vision in their own business endeavors, never looking beyond the traditional ways of doing business in their own field. Through Jay Abraham's experience in over 400 different industries and 10,000 clients, you will expand your view of what is possible and learn a myriad of ways to keep your clients coming back again and again for your product or service permanently. You will learn how to see opportunities differently than you have before, to remove obstacles and view things from a non-myopic standpoint. You'll uncover the small distractions and adjustments you can easily take to increase your business, not laterally, but exponentially. No matter what the size or current state of your business, Jay Abraham will show you how to get things done. In this exciting mix of studio and live recordings, the Mastermind Marketing Strategy will teach you that successful business marketing is about making connections. This program will make elegant solutions evident to you so that you can start looking at making important connections, project connections, business connections, and money connections. You look at things differently and gain the ability to think outside the box and look outside your normal range of business applications to find solutions that mean big profits to you. When you've got things clicking with the Mastermind Marketing System, there's no limit to what you and your business can do. And now, to get you started, here's Jay Abraham.
Hello, my name is Jay Abraham. For those of you who are unfamiliar with me, let me introduce myself and my expertise. I am considered one of the country's foremost marketing consultants. Frankly, what I think of myself is as a revenue maximizer, a money maximizer, a finder of hidden opportunities. I make money connections. I help companies and individuals in business all over the country and the world, businesses large and small in 400 different industries, identify and harvest their overlooked opportunities, their hidden assets, their underperforming activities, and their undervalued relationships. In the process, I'm very proud of the fact I've helped companies and clients find in excess of $5.5 billion in increased earnings and wealth, and I've made life a lot more fun and enjoyable and enriching for a lot of people. My hope today is to help walk you through the fundamentals of the success system that I have created, give you a short course primer in the art and science of maximizing your business performance, teach you all about how to put the power of geometry to work in your business so that you will be able to outperform, outthink, outmarket, outsell, out-earn, and out-enjoy anybody else in business you compete against locally, regionally, nationally, internationally. With that stated, let me walk you through what we're going to cover over the next few hours, why I've chosen to focus on those points, and why they're so critically and financially important to your future, to your income, to your wealth creation. First of all, I've been very fortunate. I've been able to look at 400 unrelated industries around the world. I've been able to work single-handedly with over 10,000 separate business owners privately. I've gotten to work with over 200,000 business owners, entrepreneurs, and professionals, including startup businesses in group setting. And in the process, I'm very fortunate. I've been able to identify and uncover the driving forces that made each one of their industries thrive. I've been able to figure out what the success process in each business or industry was, reduce it down to a universal principle that would work and perform equally or even superior for other people in other industries who applied it. Put it together into really fresh combinations and hybrids that nobody else in the entire business world or entrepreneurial theater ever embraced, and teach it to people like you. Normally they come to me and they pay me very large fees, $5,000 an hour, or they come for a week and pay me $25,000. So today I'm going to try to compress what I teach people into a few powerful and actionable hours. I'm going to walk you through a very integrated system. It's going to lay everything out. It's going to layer it. It's going to connect it. It's going to tell you what to do, why to do, how to do it, and why it will work. And I'm going to prove it to you with stories galore of clients of mine and their successes by just changing a few simple elements of their business philosophy and strategy and applying what I teach them. Same thing I'm going to teach you in a very, very simplified manner in the next few hours. With that stated, let's begin.
I want you to understand, first of all, the key to Jay Abraham. Key to Jay Abraham is understanding the difference in leverage. How many of you here understand that there are two kinds of cholesterol, good and bad? Raise your hand. And that it's really bad to have too much of the bad, but it's really good to have a lot of the good. Well, there's two kinds of leverage, too, very much like that. There's good leverage, and there's bad leverage. Bad leverage is when you go in hock. You buy a piece of land, an asset, equipment. You make a purchase of something and you pay too much and you hope and you pray and you wish and you do everything else in hopes that it will either appreciate rapidly and you can flip it to somebody else who'll pay you more than you paid, including debt service, or it'll earn so much more than the monthly or the annual debt load and make a profit. And as long as nothing goes wrong in the economy, nothing goes wrong in the markets, nothing goes wrong with the performance or the value of the asset, you're okay. But if anything goes wrong, guess what? You get bit really bad and not a very, very pleasant part of your anatomy. The good leverage, which is the only kind of leverage that I deal with, is upside leverage. It costs you, irrespective of what kind of business you are in or going in, it costs you the very same fixed expense to dispatch a salesman or woman, whether they be captive, whether they be telephonic, whether they be subcontract manufacturer's rep, whether they are able to contact 10 quality people or companies a day, 15, 20, 25. Costs the same fixed expense and opportunity cost whether those 10 or 15 people, they get 40% quality presentations, 50%, 30%, 70%. Costs the same to make the presentations, whether the presentations galvanize, polarize, really attract the heck out of the people and they close 1 out of 2, 2 out of 3, 4 out of 5. Costs the same whether they close 1 out of 6. Costs them the same to garner a new transaction, whether that client buys from you $100, $150, $500, $1,500. Costs the same to effect that sale, whether that client buys one time and never buys again, whether that client buys one time every 6 months, one time every 3 months, one time every month, one time every week. Costs you the same to effect the transaction, whether you sell one product or service and nothing else, whether you can figure out 1, 2, 3, 5 other ways to get utility or residual value out of the goodwill, the distribution pipeline, or whether you get none. Same thing with other forms of marketing, selling, and revenue generation. Costs you the same to dispatch a sales letter, whether it affects 0.5%, 1%, 2% response. Costs you the same to affect responses, if they're inquiries, leads, prospects, whether you convert 5% of the respondents, 10%, 25%. Costs you the same to attend a trade show, whether your banner attracts 1 out of 1,000 people walking by, 1 out of 100, 1 out of 10. Costs you the same time, opportunity cost, and dispatchment of human capital, meaning the people, the equipment, everything else you send, to utter whatever phrase you utter to the people who walk by your trade show, whether they literally come to you enthusiastically hoping you'll spend time with them telling them about the application of your product or service, or whether they're so nonplussed that they scurry away from you, or whether they're in the middle and they just give you their card in the fishbowl to win the television. I deal in only upside leverage. I have the good fortune of having been involved in 400 unrelated industries over the last 25 or 30 years. I've been able to step back and say that people in one industry pretty much all follow suit. And whether you're great or whether you're weak, plus or minus 20%, everybody in Industry A almost always drives their business primarily with the same basic revenue-generating mechanism. Industry B does about the same with their revenue-generating mechanism. Same thing in Industry C, D, E, and F. Not necessarily because the driver in A is only applicable to A. It may be more applicable to B, C, D, or E. Just they don't know it. Everyone basically is incestuous. You either work for somebody or you use some other business as your model, and that's all you know. Well, I figured out that a success process that is as common as dirt in one industry can have the power, the profitability, the preemptiveness, meaning it can block or establish your superiority and your preeminence, of an atom bomb if you take it and other combinations from other industries and combine them, and you're the first or the only one to unleash that hybrid on the industry that does everything the same way. And I've been able to do that all my life, and that's hopefully what I'll teach you, at least first stage, how to do today. But I live in a world that says upside leverage is king, that you deal in what's called optimization. My career has not only spanned about 400 industries, but I've also had the good fortune of teaching, counseling, consulting, advising, collaborating with about 300 of the world's top consultants, trainers, authors, etc. They didn't come to me for their expertise. They came to me to help make their expertise more viable, to get more people to revere it, to get them preemption, to get them more compensation for when they did it, whether they were a consultant, whether they were a speaker, whether they were a trainer, to get the market to really revere the transactional value of what they did. So in order to help them, I had to learn literally what their technology and their methodology was, and then I was able to incorporate it into my knowledge base. Basically, my attitude on optimization, because Leverage 101 is Jay Abraham, and then optimization. Optimization, very simply speaking, is committing and resigning yourself that your goal in business is to get the maximum result possible from the minimum time, effort, expenditure, and risk. Now, it's axiomatic, it's obvious, but yet nobody steps back and thinks about it.
The goal I'm trying to make is the same effort, the same expense, the same advertisement, the same sales force, the same people, the same commitment, money, and time to an activity should and could and will, if you listen to what I share with you, produce far greater upside yield. And the numbers are daunting. You can go from getting X result to getting 2, 3, 5, even 21 times greater results from the same effort. And you can get those kind of increases, not just from one effort, but from each separate activity. You go out and run ads. If you can make your ads pull 2 times better. If you get lots of leads and you make your leads convert 4 times better. If you get those converted leads to buy 30% more. If you get those people who buy to start buying 4 times more a year. Look what the combined impact has on your bottom line and ultimately in your back pocket and in your bank account and in your wealth creation. So that's what we're working towards. Getting you excited about harnessing the power of upside leverage in your marketing and strategic activities. The next thing I want you to understand is that your goal in business from today forward is to always, not sometime or occasionally, but always focus on the geometry of your business. Engineering activities that produce compound breakthroughs and compound dividends every time you do them. Why satisfy with incremental gains? Why satisfy yourself with linear results if you can get exponential performance out of everything you do? Next point we've got to recognize. In order to gain great success in your business today, you've got to be able and willing to engineer true breakthroughs in the marketing you do, in the strategy you follow, in the innovations you introduce to your marketplace. Those 3 things: marketing, strategy, innovations. Those are the 3 key components that will have more to do with your producing and realizing massive and masterful results and successes and the corresponding financial wealth that comes with it in your business enterprise than anything else you do. You know, as wonderful and brilliant as the human mind is, it doesn't always make the most powerful connections possible right away. The old forest for the trees adage, and I'd like to make a point of why that's important before we really get deep into this program. My job is being your money connector. My job is helping you make the money connections that nobody else sees. The simple, elegant solutions that will transform and transport the rest of your business life to extraordinarily greater heights than anybody else you compete against. And to make the point of why it's so possible and why it's so doable, I'm going to make a couple of actually hilarious observations of why man with all his or her brilliance and intellectual genius doesn't always connect things as quickly as they could and should, and why the ones that do make the connections own the world.
First thing I want to make a point to you is I'm thought of as a marketing expert, and I am, but I'm also, I think, a revenue and profit maximizer, a finder of hidden opportunities, overlooked assets, underperforming activities, and I'm hopefully one of the best connectors of dots you're ever going to meet. I see things in a super logical manner that most people don't, and I understand how to cut through all the forest for the trees. And I understand that the brain is such a wonderful, powerful, profound mechanism, but it doesn't always see the obvious. And I'll give you 3 examples to set the stage. In the very beginning, something like 2,000 years BC, man actually discovered ice cream. You probably didn't know that, did you? But it took almost 3,000 years before some bright person created the ice cream cone. Man came on this earth, and when he or she first arrived, we had grain, we had animals, yet it took almost 2,500 years before some bright man or woman said, let's take a slice of meat and put it between 2 pieces of bread and make a sandwich. In 1773 or 4, some brilliant person created the modern flush toilet. That's pretty impressive, isn't it? You want to hear something not very impressive? It wasn't until 1886 that some far more brilliant person created toilet paper. True. My job is to try to shorten the connection for you and make it in like nanoseconds, not decades or not generations. Okay, so let me tell you what I'm all about. You got to understand, we're going to talk about now the keys to maximizing earnings and revenue. And I want a show of hands so I can address and modify this. Hands. How many people in the room actually have an operating business, first or second stage? It's got revenue, it's got product and service, it's got some level of validation, and at least it appears to be viable. How many of you have a business that's in plan stage? You actually have a very well-conceived plan, you can present it, you got an executive summary, you got stuff that makes the case. Raise your hand. How many of you have this idea in your bosom that you really want in the most fervent, the most passionate, the most compelling way to figure out how to transform it from a vision to reality, to tangible, dollar-rendering contribution to the world and also enrichment to you? Okay. How many here, honest to gosh, don't yet know why you're here? And I'm not making fun, but you're sort of searching. You're looking for the right vehicle, the right opportunity, the right application, the right direction, the right clarification, whether you should be an entrepreneur or an inventor or go flee to the sanctity of an employed situation. Raise your hand. Okay, good. So I'm going to give you a primer treatise on the keys to maximizing earnings and revenue.
Well, my goal today is to make the business money connections a heck of a lot quicker, faster, and clearer for you so that it won't take you 10 or 20 or 100 or 1,000 years to see how to outthink and outperform not only your competition, but everything else you've ever achieved in your life. We're going to now set about making more money connections in the next few hours than you've probably made in the last 2 decades in your business life. Now, how in the world do you, sitting wherever you are, in whatever industry you're at, whatever city you're based in, how in the world do you engineer true breakthroughs? I've studied the top performing businesses in 400 industries. And guess what they almost all have in common? Almost every one of them. They are the companies that produce and engineer the most qualitative and consistent array of continuous breakthroughs in all those three areas. They produce more marketing breakthroughs more continuously, more strategic breakthroughs more continuously, more innovation breakthroughs more continuously. Now, how can you easily, quickly, and immediately become just like those people? Sitting where you are in whatever city you're in whatever industry you are, spending every hour of your day right now trying to just deal with the alligators nipping at your feet or other parts of your anatomy? The answer is simple. You immediately resolve that from today forward, in order to engineer true breakthroughs in those three areas of your business, you must travel outside your industry or your current business to look for the breakthroughs. Now, what does this mean? Think in your life about times when you traveled with your family, either for personal or for business reasons. Certainly you've traveled outside of your city before. Probably you've traveled outside your state, and most likely you've traveled outside of your country. Every time you traveled away from your comfort zone, from your current locale, weren't you fascinated to see how many different ways there were of thinking, of climates, of dress, of culture, of lifestyle, of values, of religious beliefs, of architecture? Well, when you travel outside of your industry, the same phenomena occurs. You start seeing all kinds of different ways other people in other fields of endeavor dealing in different dynamics accomplish something. How many different ways they've found to uncover and target and acquire leads and convert them to clients and customers. How many different ways they've found to sell them. How many different ways they've uncovered to sell them more things more often. A great point of reference here, and this is very, very exciting, liberating, and fascinating. The odds are high that you unintentionally and very, very well-meaningly have limited and restricted the amount of customers you have, the amount of product services they could buy from you, the frequency of times they could come back and repurchase from you, and the amount of referrals and other ancillary and windfall business they could be producing for you each and every day of your business life. And the reason that you have unintentionally restricted and limited it is that you don't have a clue yet how many easier and more powerful ways there are to get them coming and returning and buying and getting excited. And that's what we're going to cover right now. The next thing you got to realize is that in order to borrow these success processes from outside your industry, you've got to switch your thinking from what I call tunnel vision, which is basically business myopia, spending all your time and focus thinking just about the way that you and everybody else in your industry does business, and move over to what I call funnel vision, which is the ability to funnel all the success processes, all the super higher performing strategies from other industries and businesses, and funnel them together into hybrids that you alone in your industry understand, recognize, and employ and deploy. Things that you alone use and all your competitors in your field don't have a clue. That's how you leave them basically choking on your dust.
Now, if you're going to optimize, which Abraham says you have to do, you cannot optimize until and unless you first step back from what you're doing and you evaluate and recognize the vast majority of superior performing options and opportunities and alternatives available to you. And you can't do that if you spend your whole life looking internally at what you're doing. I call spending your whole life basically trying to improve what you're already doing funnel vision. You got to transcend that. You got to travel outside your business. Then you got to travel outside your industry, and you got to cultivate what I call funnel vision. You got to funnel the success processes that are superior to yours into your business. And you can't do that until you start looking at not what you're doing, but what the outcome of what you're doing is all about. I teach understanding the transactional equivalent. For example, I'll give you a quick piece of profoundly powerful marketing, selling, and success advice. Whatever product or service you think you sell, you are wrong. People don't buy products or services. They buy the result. They buy the benefit. They buy the advantage. They buy the enhancement. They buy the enrichment. They buy the protection. They buy the entertainment. But they're not buying a thing. They're buying the result, the thing at work in their life in their business brings to them. Okay, so you got to decide you're going to go for upside leverage. You can't go for upside leverage until you first figure out what in the heck you're doing. Until you figure out what you're doing, you can't figure out how much better you could do it or the equivalent. For example, you may run ads in a magazine or a newspaper looking for leads because that's all you know. Well, first thing is, how can you make ads pull better? But the second question to ask is, do I want to make the ads pull better, or do I want to find a higher performing, superior yielding, more qualitative and quantitative producing way to generate leads? If the answer is the latter, which I think it should be, don't you? I mean, it's a means to an end, the ad. Who cares whether you stop running ads if you can find a way to get leads better? And the first approach might be to say, who else in the world of business, not just in my one little vertical field, but who else in the world of business does lead generating or the equivalent? Because the equivalent is a lot of other things. And saying, okay, all these 25 or 125 or 525 industries have other means of doing lead generating. Then saying, what are they? What do they cost in time, in opportunity, in risk? How do they do? And you can't do that until you study the success processes outside your business.
A couple of points that are very important. Most people in life spend all their time doing the same things that everybody else in their business does. Why? Because probably part of your model for how you built your business came from observing how everybody else in that industry operated. Well, if all you do is follow the same strategy everyone else in your industry follows, if you all try to get customers and clients the same way, if you all sell to people through the same basic approach, if you all basically adapt the same mindset and the same philosophy, guess what? All you'll ever expect to do is maybe be a little bit better, 10, 20% better, or 10 or 20% less. You may not have as much capital. You may not have as much passion yet. You may not have as much of a staff. So if you all try to do the same thing the same way, you are limited and you are in dire exposure of being compromised. Conversely, on the other hand, if you decide that you are going to be the only player in your industry who's going to identify and borrow and then harness the success processes from all kinds of other industries, you'll know about different ways that you can actually make your company, your business, your practice perform masterfully and massively better in bringing on new clients, in selling them more things, and selling them more often, and getting those clients basically working harder for you than any advertising or any marketing effort you can possibly imagine. Understand this also. In order for you to maximize the performance of everything you do, which is how you basically get to geometric growth, you've got to understand the science of optimization. Optimization is a science I learned many years ago from the work that I did with W. Edwards Deming's organization. Deming was the one who taught the Japanese in the end of World War II how to go from basically producing patented mediocrity to producing some of the highest qualitative and economically advantageous products in the whole world. He did it by teaching them the same thing I'm about to teach you, the science of optimization. What optimization is nothing more than resigning to yourself that from today forward, you are going to get the highest and best. Highest and best is always the phrases you want to indelibly embed in your mind. The highest and best performance, results, outcome, productivity, yield, strategic connection from everything you do and everyone you do it with. Let me give you a little story that will help you understand highest and best. Those of you who have any familiarity with commercial real estate, you may own it, you may have bought it before, you may have been involved in a commercial real estate transaction. When you buy raw commercial real estate, or when you buy even developed commercial real estate, and you bring in a commercial real estate appraiser to help you value what that real estate is worth, to help the bank figure out what they can afford to lend you in mortgage, they do not look at that real estate in terms of what it is today. For example, if you were in Beverly Hills on Rodeo Drive, that prestigious retail street, and across the street from one prestigious store, let's say we're across the street from Tiffany & Company, great big jewelry store, prestigious, prime. If across the street there was a semi-vacant lot with a beat-up 1,000 square foot ramshackle, tattered and disheveled little beat-up house with no paint on it, and you wanted to buy the house and the lot, The commercial appraiser would not value that at just what a silly little 1,000 square foot 2-bedroom house would be worth. He would look at it at what it would be worth if that house were leveled, if it were developed to its highest and best use, which may be a high-rise office building or a mega shopping center or a restaurant or even a parking lot, because in Beverly Hills they get as much as $30 a car per day just to park and spend your money and shop. But the point is, the commercial real estate appraiser would look at the highest and best use of that land and that location for the maximum financial opportunity. You have to agree to adopt a similar attitude in looking at every element and every activity in your business. You got to ask yourself, what is, operative word, what is the highest and best use of this activity? What is the highest and best use of this effort? What is the highest and best use of this opportunity? What is the highest and best use of this expenditure of time, of people, and of my most precious capital? When you ask that question of yourself, you've got to then be able, in order to optimize what you're doing, to be able to comparatively evaluate the spectrum of superior performing options and opportunities that are available to you to choose from. You can't know the best options and opportunities available to necessarily do something like bring on more customers, clients, to get customers to buy more, to get people to refer more, to get them to come more often, until and unless you first look at all the ways other people in other fields of endeavors, i.e. other businesses, other professions, have uncovered and perfected ways of doing it. Till you know how many better ways there are, you can't choose the best way to do it for you. All you can do is what you've been doing, which is doing what everybody else in your industry has followed, which is the same basic way of generating customers, sales, etc. So I'm trying to get you to become an optimizer. I'm trying to get you to realize highest and best use of your time, your opportunity. I'm trying to get you to recognize that out there are, believe me, dozens, if not hundreds of better ways than you're following today, and we're going to get into a very stimulating introduction of what those ways are in a very few number of minutes.